Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Zanu PF is going all out with its clampdown. The regime is turning Zimbabwe into a North Korea police state, and all for the purposes of making sure that there are no Zimbabweans who protest and remind the SADC leaders who are visiting the country on the 17th for the summit that Zanu PF rigged the elections last year and is per se illegitimate. Here is a video clip of some of the happenings in Harare city center. The intention is very clear. Zanu PF is not going to tolerate anyone holding a public demonstration. This is frightful. Benjamin, what are we going to do about this one?
Good day to everybody. Zanu PF is on a war path that we cannot deny. Zanu PF is clamping down on any demonstration or any signs of any demonstration way before they even happen. This is evident of a regime that will use brute force to cover up their mistakes or to cover up the cracks in the house. Zanu PF will burn the country down just to have their own way. I'm afraid of what will happen if people are going to be defiant. And people are saying they're going to be defiant. I think a clash is imminent, and it's going to be nasty. Obviously, we cannot, deny the fact or try and water it down to say, no matter how peaceful it is, they will not want anybody to present the country as a failed state. Period.
I totally agree with you. It is a pity. It is tragic. But what some people should also remember here is that this is a regime, a police state, as I said, where to carry out these operations, mobilizing all these soldiers, police, and CIO, it's costing the country a fortune. And yet the country is failing to look after some of the basic requirements for its people. One of the most basic ones, we talked about it yesterday, is the infrastructure. Zimbabwe's roads are in a terrible state. The regime has repaired some of the roads that the visitors will be using. It is widely believed that the regime has given instruction to the designated drivers that they should use the designated routes which do not have potholes. Who are we trying to deceive here? It's pathetic. But one other area is healthcare. Zimbabwe's health care service has long collapsed. And here is a minister from South Africa complaining about that very issue. Many Zimbabweans have had to resort to going to South Africa, Zambia, Botswana, and all the other neighboring countries for basic healthcare services because the country's own healthcare has all but collapsed, particularly in the rural areas. If you look at big hospitals like Pararenyatwa Hospital, Pilo Hospital in Bulawayo, these are the big referral hospitals. And yet it is normal to hear that even Pararenyatwa and Pilo Hospital do not have beds, do not have painkillers, basic stuff. And if those referral hospitals do not have these services, one can well imagine the rural hospitals, the district hospitals, what sort of state they must be in. This is really, really disappointing.
You know, statistics don't lie. So the South African health minister brought out some very eye-opening statistics to say, you know, the closest area of access to South African hospitals is obviously what do you call this? Sorry, I forgot the Messina. Messina is the closest to Zimbabwe. That's a border town, and he was saying that 70% of the women that are giving birth in Messina are Zimbabweans, which would mean our women folk are having to travel across the border for them to have safe delivery. Because we know most of the time, you know, if you are to give birth in Zimbabwe, one of the requirements is you should bring a candle with you. You should bring, surgical blades, gloves, needles. Surely those are basic, like you were saying, basic stuff that the hospital should be providing it because, you are still paying for it, really, but there is nothing of that sort. People are having to come for blood transfusion in South Africa. Zimbabwe has failed. And now, like you were saying, it's very difficult to start imagining how the rural hospitals are if they are but working. Probably most of them have since closed, or you simply go there, they just write you a referral because they don't have anything to give you. It's really sad, and we know that the regime would not care much about it because the moment they get sick or they suspect there's something wrong with them, they're taking the next plane out. China, Malaysia, Dubai, or wherever they go, first class chartered planes just to go there and get treatment, which is very, very unfair. So we have a regime that is really, really out of touch with the situation that is befallen to Zimbabwe.
Yeah, one of the things that is so disappointing here is when we're coming to this issue of the SADC. Zanu PF is mobilizing the securocrats the police, the army, the CIO, to stop people staging a protest. And the protest, what they don't want the people to protest about is that Zanu PF rigged the 2023 elections. And yet, the truth is, they did rig the elections. It's not as if SADC leaders themselves do not know that. They know that. The SADC election observer mission that came to observe the Zimbabwe elections made it abundantly clear that the election process was flawed and illegal. SADC leaders themselves accepted the report, read it, and adapted it. It's not as if SADC doesn't know this. I think this is what I find really annoying. They know it, and now Zanu PF is actually, in this clampdown, is actually giving a demonstration of that the regime is a tyrannical regime. I mean, if I was Zanu PF's advisor, I'd be telling them that what you're doing is exactly what anyone feared would do. You are illegitimate. And now you are showing the world that you are prepared not only to rig the elections, but to brutally silence the people. The whole there's no really logic in this. This is what I find so crazy about this situation.
Yes, I agree with you. And on that topic of SADC, I am very disappointed with SADC. I mean, we have had so many times when SADC members or diplomats, elders come through and visit Harare. Their first comment is Zimbabwe is making strides moving forward. Zimbabwe has grown. Zimbabwe is an example. Surely, one just has to question themselves to say, the moment you get back home, you are now complaining that Zimbabweans make up a bulk of illegal immigrants. Surely, if my home is very beautiful and everything is moving forward, why would I leave it and come and camp outside your house? It's just absolutely, it drives somebody very, very mad to say, people are facing a serious problem. You know it. You talk about it. You have seen it. Right now, we can't say they don't know what is happening in Zimbabwe. Social media is awash with all these crackdowns. Here you are coming to celebrate, you are coming to sit down, wine and dine with a dictator. Somebody that, failed your examination. Secondly, somebody now that is now going a step further to silence, the people. It's like you have visitors and you lock out, you lock down your children to say you are not going out of this room, stay in this room, and you are made to keep quiet, until the meeting is over. I first of all, I would understand from Zanu PF because they are deluded of the truth. But here we have SADC leaders. An example, this is an organization that is supposed to set, as an example, high standards. and you accept a member state to do this on your watch, on your time, on your day, this just speaks volumes about SADC as an organization. And unfortunately, as an organization, they will suffer. You know, their image is going to be muddied because of this.
Yes, I will agree with you there 100%. However, I will also argue that one of the things that has happened in uh, in SADC is the May 29th elections in South Africa. I think that has been a game changer. As much as Zanu PF would want to believe that things are the same, I don't think they are the same. What we have seen in South Africa is really serious changes that have changed the dynamics of even the organization SADC itself. I would argue that when Zanu PF rigged the elections last year, in fact, evidence is there that President Ramaphosa and his ANC friends propped up the regime. I think many of the SADC leaders would have wanted to punish Zanu PF. But President Ramaphosa and his South African friends supported them. The 29th May 2024 elections have seen ANC lose its absolute majority for the first time in 30 years. And that has changed the political dynamics in South Africa. Here is a video clip of one of the South African leaders telling his ANC counterpart, in fact, the gentleman on the right hand of the picture there is South Africa's ANC Secretary General. And he is telling him in no uncertain terms that the relationship between South Africa and Zimbabwe, specifically Zanu PF, has changed.
Our international relationship is going to really be based off what is good for South Africa, and ensure that this countries respect the rule of law. We will not be associated with dictators and with countries that actually does not respect the human rights of their own countries. Not that we will interfere directly in their affairs, but we will make it really very clear. Like I can give an example that I always use. It's Zanu PF in Zimbabwe. I mean, it's going to be almost impossible, not difficult for Asian SA to have relationships with Zanu PF. Looking at their history, making Zimbabweans to be all over the world, including being here in South Africa, creating a massive challenge for us in South Africa. Zimbabwean people deserve to be in their own country. We've got a beautiful country, lots of potential, but unfortunately when you have a party like the Zanu PF, which are friends of the ANC, I really find it difficult for a current government to be associated with the Zanu PF. I mean, it's beyond imagination.
So my final word on this one would be, as much as Zanu PF can continue with its police state mentality, the truth of the matter is SADC has moved on. And yes, maybe it will be very difficult for SADC leaders to cancel, to stop attending the summit penciled in for the 17th of August. But if some of them could, that will send also another clear message. But even if none of them cancel and they all attend, they have seen what has been happening in Zimbabwe. And they are smart enough to know that what they suspected, what the SADC election observer mission report said is true. Zimbabwe is a dictatorship. Zanu PF rigged the elections, and now they're using brute force to silence the people of Zimbabwe. That is the message that Zanu PF is sending with all this display. And I honestly believe that the pressure is on. If Zimbabwe was to hold the elections tomorrow, which they will in 2028, Zanu PF will no doubt rig the elections, but I don't think they'll get away with it. That is my prediction. Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
So yeah, in closing, I want to address the immediate future. You know, this whole this what is happening within the month. So we I think I was reading a fairly balanced letter that was addressed to government and to us, the civilians of Zimbabwe, from the church, where it says, you know, everybody has the right and the freedoms to show their grievances, but you know, as people want to demonstrate or to show their grievances, let us not do it in a violent manner. Let us not now start taking advantage and looting people's things in shops. Let us respect that the grievances is with government and not people's things. They are also civilians, just like you and me, and you know, their survival and their livelihood is also based on that. So I would like to thank them for talking about that. And they also mentioned that, you know, Zanu PF should now stop this whole, you know, arrests, you know, abductions, you know, beatings, torture, and even murder of people that are suspected to be wanting to be protesters. You know, they went as far as saying, you know, somebody is arrested after they've committed a crime. You cannot arrest them, you know, on suspicion that they will commit a crime maybe in 2030, you know, or tomorrow. It's never been like that. So they've also said, you know, release these people, you know, or at least grant them bail, because it's their right to have it, you know, because right now we have a small baby, you know, less than a year old, that is in remand prison. Surely that just says, you know, volumes about the regime, you know, how much evil is within their system. And I hope all sides, you know, will find, you know, will do whatever they need to do peacefully. And with peace, I think, you know, it will be a success for both. You know, Zanu PF can continue with their whole, you know, charade, but at least the Zimbabwean, you know, citizens would have shown SADC in a peaceful manner that they are very, very aggrieved, and I hope that is how it ends. But it's a long shot. Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you very much, Ben, for your summary there. I think we have got a situation here where Zanu PF rigged the elections. Now they've got to silence those who are going to remind them that they rigged the elections. And they found themselves in a situation where they are damned if they let those people speak. And also they are damned if they silence them. But it is a situation of the regime's own making. It rigged the elections, and now it must face the music. Thank you very much, everyone who was able to join us tonight, and have a good day.